Are you a bit nervous?
No, well, I didn't really want to be here, so I was made to be here. So obviously I'm just like wanting to get this over with and get on with my life.
Well, we've been told that you didn't help the prosecution sort of in this very important case.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Goodbye. When I was sleeping, I had a knock at my door, and I opened my door, and two men were there and gave me a pouch and said, "A gift for you."
Did you ask them who they were?
No, I was extremely tired. When they gave me the pouch, I just put it next to my bed and went back to bed. I needed to go away. And it was a big, fearful thing for me to take the time off work and think, God, I'm missing something. And but I did that because I realized the people that really loved me, I was going to lose if I didn't find out what was making me do the things I did.
Naomi Campbell was not just described as a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Some allegations have suggested she played a deeper role in his social circle.
I was laying down on this little plank thing. That boat shot there. I was laying down on a plank. Laying down on a pillow. Yeah. And you came and you sat down next to me. And I think you let me put my head in your lap, or you put my feet on your lap. Right. And you're like, "Sweetie, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "Actually, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay."
When people think of Naomi Campbell, they remember a model who dominated the fashion industry for decades, walked major runways, and became one of the most recognizable faces in the world. However, when reviewing documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein, a different narrative has been discussed, one that has nothing to do with fashion shows or magazine covers.
Naomi Campbell is all over the Epstein files. And I remember hearing these rumors about, Naomi used to recruit girls for them. And I was like, I don't see it. Like, surely not. But no, sure enough, she was consistently emailing him back and forth for 12 years.
Aside from that flight, do you know him from any other?
No.
Naomi Campbell?
Yes, I do know Naomi. And I knew her before I met Mr. Epstein and the former President Clinton.
Do you know whether Mr. Epstein separately knew Ms. Campbell?
I think he probably met her through me.
To understand how Naomi Campbell became associated with Jeffrey Epstein's network, it is important to understand her status in the fashion world. Her position in that industry is often cited as a reason she would have been valuable to someone like Jeffrey Epstein.
The reputation in the fashion world is that she is fabulous when she's fabulous. And that if Naomi suddenly doesn't show up, you've just got to eat crow and hope that the next time she will show up and be in a better place.
Naomi Campbell was not just a successful model. She became one of the original supermodels, alongside Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, and Christy Turlington. She began her career as a teenager in London, and by her early 20s, she was already an international icon. This is where Jeffrey Epstein enters the picture. He was widely known as a wealthy financier who was later convicted of serious crimes. What many people did not initially realize was the extent of his connections within elite social and business circles, including individuals linked to the fashion industry.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret show.
Court records and reporting have shown that Jeffrey Epstein had a close financial relationship with Leslie Wexner, the billionaire behind Victoria's Secret. This was not described as a casual connection. Epstein managed aspects of Wexner's finances for years. According to allegations presented in court, Epstein used his claimed connections to powerful figures to approach young women with promises of advancing their careers. He allegedly told aspiring models that he could introduce them to influential people in the fashion world. His public association with well-known figures such as Naomi Campbell may have made those claims appear more credible to some.
We are responsible for having created monsters in the sense that this thing went to their head. You have to understand, it's not only the money and the glory, is that they're beautiful women at the same time. They inspire desire.
Jeffrey Epstein did not simply associate with famous individuals. Prosecutors have argued that he leveraged the status and credibility of prominent names to gain trust. Allegations suggest that his connections helped him present himself as legitimate and influential. Naomi Campbell's prominence in the fashion world is often mentioned in discussions about how Epstein cultivated his image.
Naomi, I have never, ever started an interview this way. But you know that people call you a bitch.
Yeah.
And you don't mind.
No, I do mind. I think that for me, a woman that's in control of her work or makes decisions or is very opinionated is called. And I think that a man, when he's like that, it's called nothing. It's fine. But I mean, being a me, if that's what people want to think of me as, has protected me in so many ways.
Documents related to the case describe a system that prosecutors say was used to recruit and exploit young women. Naomi Campbell attended high-profile fashion events where Epstein was sometimes also present. Critics argue that such access gave him entry into elite spaces filled with ambitious young models. It is also noted that Naomi Campbell maintained social contact with Epstein even after his 2008 conviction in Florida. Her continued association drew public scrutiny, especially given that Epstein was a registered sex offender at that time. However, public association alone does not establish knowledge of criminal activity.
I do what I feel like doing and how I want to do.
Wild? Untamed?
I didn't know any other way. I didn't have any other examples, so I did what I thought was what I thought it was right.
And it projected itself on the page.
I think so.
Victoria's Secret was only one part of the broader network under investigation. Documents and testimony have also referenced Jean-Luc Brunel, the founder of MC2 Model Management, who was later charged in connection with investigations tied to Epstein. Brunel had long-standing professional ties within the modeling industry, including associations with prominent figures. Reports have noted that Jean-Luc Brunel and Naomi Campbell had known each other professionally for years. Investigators examined whether modeling agencies were used as recruitment channels, though each individual's level of knowledge or involvement has been treated separately under the law.
Want to be a model, you can come to my agency. And I was like, sure, you hear these stories. So I thought about it, took the card to my mother, and she was like, no.
Reports indicate that Naomi Campbell and Jean-Luc Brunel traveled within the same elite social circles, including visits to properties owned by Jeffrey Epstein, such as his private island in the Caribbean. Critics argue that these connections suggest overlap between modeling agencies and the locations where Epstein carried out criminal activity. There were also reports that Epstein explored purchasing modeling agencies in Brazil and interacted with several models as part of attempts to gain influence within recruitment pipelines. Naomi Campbell's high-profile position in the modeling world is often cited by commentators as adding legitimacy to elite industry spaces, though public association alone does not establish involvement in criminal conduct.
The next is a Palm Beach Daily News article. Bill Clinton, Naomi Campbell, others flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet, lawsuit reveals. The flight logs from 2003 to 2005 have been filed in one of the many civil lawsuits pending against the billionaire money manager. Nearly 24 young women have filed lawsuits against Epstein, some already settled, all alleging that Epstein sexually abused them as minors in his home.
The flight logs for Jeffrey Epstein's private plane, often referred to as the Lolita Express, have been examined closely for years. The Boeing 727 transported Epstein and various associates between his properties. Naomi Campbell's name appears on certain flight records. These entries document travel between major cities and destinations connected to Epstein's social network. One October 2002 flight log lists travel from Paris to New York that included Naomi Campbell, Ghislaine Maxwell, and former U.S. President Bill Clinton. The presence of high-profile individuals on these flights has fueled public speculation. However, documented travel does not by itself establish knowledge of or participation in criminal activity. The manifests confirm passengers, but they do not describe events that occurred beyond the recorded travel.
You went from the sweetest woman that was giving me vitamins to someone that terrified me on that trip. That experience between you and I was one of the most difficult times in my entire life.
Observers have argued that the presence of globally recognized celebrities on Epstein's flights may have contributed to an image of legitimacy. High-profile passengers can create the appearance of normal business or philanthropic travel. Still, flight logs represent documented transportation records and should not be interpreted as proof of wrongdoing without additional evidence. Discussions have also referenced statements made during legal proceedings involving Ghislaine Maxwell. Testimony in court has been analyzed for what it suggests about various social relationships within Epstein's circle.
But those three, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Spacey, and Ms. Campbell, did they ever travel to any of Mr. Epstein's properties, the island or New Mexico?
Not Mr. Tucker, well, not to my knowledge, Mr. Tucker or Mr. Spacey. Naomi Campbell may have.
To where?
She may have gone, well, she certainly, well, I believe she visited him in Palm Beach, and I believe she may have gone to the island, and she may have gone to see his house in New York, whether she went to New Mexico or Paris as well, maybe. They were friends, or friendly.
In testimony, Ghislaine Maxwell described certain relationships within Epstein's social network. At one point, she characterized Naomi Campbell's relationship with Epstein as independent of her own involvement. That wording has been examined closely by commentators.
Friendship, whatever, with Mr. Epstein was independent of me.
The term independent in this context has been widely discussed. Some interpret it to mean that Naomi Campbell did not require an intermediary to interact with Epstein and had her own separate social connection. However, such terminology does not automatically imply participation in illegal conduct. It describes the nature of a relationship, not criminal responsibility.
Long story short, she told me that she knew of a man who was looking for a traveling masseuse, and if he liked me, then I would get educated and I would become a real massage therapist. So yeah, it was a dream of a lifetime until I got there, and it was immediate.
Virginia Giuffre, one of the most prominent survivors connected to the Epstein case, has provided testimony in multiple legal proceedings. In unsealed records from Giuffre versus Maxwell, she described meeting Naomi Campbell at a birthday gathering held on a yacht in St. Tropez. Giuffre's account presented a version of events that differed from the public image associated with high-profile social gatherings. When this testimony became public, Naomi Campbell's representatives denied claims of misconduct and disputed certain aspects of the account. Unsealed documents included photographs showing Naomi Campbell, Virginia Giuffre, and Ghislaine Maxwell on a yacht together. The images confirmed that they were present at the same event, though photographs alone do not establish knowledge of criminal behavior. Giuffre also described Naomi Campbell's demeanor during the gathering, characterizing it as distant and authoritative. These descriptions reflect Giuffre's personal account and perspective as presented in court filings.
A woman who worked as your assistant for 9 days in Canada charged you with assault. And she said you grabbed her by the throat, you hit her with a phone, she ran out of the room with her face bleeding, and she filed criminal charges. You pled guilty to assault.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because I threw the phone, and I admit that, and I'm not going to say I didn't. I've never said I haven't.
In discussions about grooming environments, experts often explain that social hierarchies can be used to create pressure and insecurity. In such settings, influential individuals may shape the atmosphere simply by their presence and status. However, establishing legal responsibility requires clear evidence of direct involvement in criminal acts.
In Africa to do a fashion show for Nelson Mandela Children's Fund.
Naomi, who came up with the idea for the show?
I did when I was last here. I felt bad.
Imagine being a young aspiring model entering elite social spaces filled with yachts, celebrities, and luxury. For someone new to that world, the experience could feel overwhelming. Being in proximity to highly successful figures such as Naomi Campbell could intensify feelings of aspiration or inadequacy. These psychological dynamics are often examined in analyses of exploitation cases.
My anger in the appropriate time. It's always been in the inappropriate time. But it's a manifestation of a deeper issue, I think, anger. And that, for me, I think, is based on insecurity, self-esteem, and loneliness. And everyone thinks, oh, Naomi's a really tough girl and really strong, but that's what I want to appear to people to be like. Because I fear that if I don't, they're going to just walk all over me if they really knew how I was.
So in a way, you're going to strike out before someone strikes you?
Yeah, I guess so.
Some commentators describe what they call an aspiration trap, where ambition and proximity to fame create emotional vulnerability. According to Virginia Giuffre's testimony, Naomi Campbell was present at certain gatherings and influenced the social atmosphere. Whether she understood the full scope of wrongdoing has not been established in court. It is important to distinguish between documented presence, personal testimony, allegations, and proven criminal conduct. Public figures named in these discussions have not been convicted of crimes in connection with Jeffrey Epstein unless specifically stated by a court of law.
Do you believe in a certain way that it sort of triggered a certain self-destruct button in you for the next few years?
Yeah, I know it did.
You went a bit crazy.
I just didn't feel safe, and don't know. I definitely, it did trigger a self-destruct button that...
In 2022, The Guardian published emails from May 2010 between Naomi Campbell and Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. In those emails, Naomi Campbell referred to Ghislaine Maxwell as a great friend and discussed the possibility of arranging a visit from Maxwell to Libya. The timing of these emails drew attention. They were sent in 2010, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein's 2008 conviction in Florida, when he had already registered as a sex offender. By that point, Epstein's reputation in the United States had been severely damaged, and scrutiny around his network was increasing. Some commentators have suggested that outreach to international figures reflected efforts to maintain elite connections abroad. However, email correspondence discussing introductions or visits does not, by itself, establish criminal intent or participation in illegal activity.
In this email, Naomi Campbell is begging Jeffrey Epstein to use his private plane. I guess it was something that he did for her all the time. Now, what type of relationship do you have with a perverted child pervert where you can ask them for their plane?
With these documents becoming public, many people have questioned what Naomi Campbell has said about her connections to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She has addressed the issue publicly on multiple occasions.
Let's call it for what it is. This is a character assassination, and we can all read between the lines and know why they keep coming at me. But I will not lay down and let that happen.
In a 2019 interview, Naomi Campbell stated that she was sickened by Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and expressed sympathy for his victims. She described her association with him as social and incidental, explaining that she was introduced to Epstein through a former boyfriend who moved in wealthy and influential circles.
Did you know who he was?
Yes, I knew him. I was introduced to him on my 31st birthday by my ex-boyfriend Flavio. He was always front and center at Victoria's Secret shows.
Did you suspect what he was doing?
No. And what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my fair share of pictures, and thank God that I had good people around me that protected me from this.
Her primary defense has centered on the argument that visibility does not equal participation. As one of the most photographed women in the world, she has said that appearing in pictures with someone or attending the same events does not mean she was aware of that person's private conduct.
How many people do you think you have rubbed shoulders with, as the Mail on Sunday put it?
I've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I find it extraordinary that of all the hundreds of thousands of people that I've stood next to take a picture at a public event, they've only chosen these few. It's going to be very difficult to be photographed at public events because you're going to think if you do take a picture, it's going to be taken out of context and used in a negative way. So it's going to be sad for everybody.
Following later document releases, Naomi Campbell reiterated her support for survivors while rejecting suggestions that travel records or contact listings prove wrongdoing on her part. She has maintained that these documents reflect social proximity rather than criminal involvement.
I mean, right now I stand with the victims. They're scarred for life.
Critics argue that the issue is not limited to a single photograph or isolated meeting. They point to repeated entries in flight logs, contact books, and social events over several years. Flight records show Naomi Campbell's name appearing on certain trips aboard Epstein's plane. Court transcripts confirm that she visited properties associated with Epstein. The published emails with Saif al-Islam Gaddafi show that she was willing to facilitate introductions involving Ghislaine Maxwell. Victim testimony has also placed her at certain gatherings. However, testimony represents personal accounts and must be evaluated within the legal process. Being listed in contact books or appearing alongside individuals such as Woody Allen or former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak reflects documented associations. But association alone is not proof of criminal conduct.
In my opinion, she was a recruiter for those guys, or should I say those. But she was also listed in Epstein's black book, his private jet logs, through numerous parties, a yacht party where we could see Ghislaine Maxwell, who was known to be trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. She was 17 years old at the time. She also signed to an agency that was funded by Epstein and even dealt with Epstein after the child stuff came out.
Some commentators have expressed the opinion that Naomi Campbell played a more active role within Epstein's broader social network. They point to her presence in Epstein's contact book, flight logs, and at social events where Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. There are also references to her professional ties within the modeling industry, including agencies that were later scrutinized during investigations. These patterns of association have fueled debate. Supporters argue that long-term social overlap in elite circles is common and does not imply wrongdoing. Critics argue that repeated proximity raises legitimate questions. Ultimately, conclusions must be based on verified legal findings rather than speculation.
I don't know what Naomi Campbell has to do with the Epstein files, but I know the bitch is guilty. She just so happens to be smiling in pictures with all of the worst men in history, conveniently, but she never did anything. There's just too many allegations about her. She's always been known for being mean.
When new Epstein-related documents were released, social media reactions were intense. Some online commentators made strong accusations about various public figures, including Naomi Campbell. Others urged caution, noting that accusations on social platforms are not the same as evidence presented in court. For decades, Naomi Campbell's public image focused on her achievements in fashion and philanthropy. The renewed attention to historical associations has shifted public discussion. However, public opinion and legal responsibility are not the same, and allegations must be distinguished from proven facts.
Now, we know she was a recruiter, or allegedly a recruiter, of the young girls because she was a supermodel, so she used that to her advantage. But we also know that she's been caught up in allegedly setting people up. Now, remember in the early 90s, she was in Michael Jackson's In the Closet video. And that was around the time when they were framing him for bringing out this pedophile ring. Something ain't adding up, but these Epstein files is bringing a lot of shit to the light.
The Epstein case has highlighted how networks of wealth, influence, and celebrity can intersect. Investigators examined whether modeling agencies such as MC2 Model Management and Elite Model Management were knowingly involved in recruitment schemes or whether individuals within those structures exploited existing systems. Jean-Luc Brunel, who founded MC2, was charged in France in connection with related investigations before his death in custody. The broader question raised by the case is how powerful individuals were able to operate for so long without facing earlier accountability. Analysts often discuss the concept of high-status enablers, meaning influential figures whose presence can lend credibility to others. Still, determining legal responsibility requires clear evidence of intent and participation.
It's just a fault and a defect that has to be put right, and I am trying to put it right. It's something that I think is very bad, ill-mannered, and it's not something I'm proud of. But as I said, I am progressive.
Documents show that Naomi Campbell appeared in multiple areas connected to Epstein's social world, including agency relationships, social gatherings, and certain flights. Whether she was aware of the full scope of Epstein's criminal activities has not been established in court. The larger issue raised by the Epstein investigation concerns systems of power and influence that allowed misconduct to continue for years. It prompts broader questions about accountability within elite circles across industries. As with any high-profile case, it is essential to separate documented facts from allegations and personal opinion. Public debate continues, but legal conclusions depend on evidence tested in court.